Let's be honest, budgeting sucks. It is confusing, quite frankly, boring, and more times than not ends up just gathering virtual dust in some online folder. But there is a much better way. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book, and in my opinion, still one of the smartest ways to manage your money. And I've seen it literally transform the lives and finances of thousands of people around the world. Now, I've spent over 15 years in finance as a chartered accountant, advising clients from startups to multi-million-dollar businesses. And let me tell you this, it does not matter how much you earn, the majority of people still struggle to really manage their money and manage their cash flow efficiently. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through the 50-30-20 anti-budget framework and share with you how it can give you real structure and real freedom over your money while still being incredibly flexible to your lifestyle. Now, in my experience, this is still the best money management tool in 2025, and it is not outdated as others may have you believe. So let's get into it. Firstly, why do you even need a system to manage your money? Why can you not just spend and live freely and enjoy all the money that you've worked hard for? Well, we come back to the great quote of, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And we certainly don't want that situation with your finances. The whole purpose of having a money management system in place is to actually put more control and clarity and freedom back in your hands. It lets you see exactly where your money is going and then figure out how do you want to make the best use of it. So without a clear system or a clear framework in place, money can slip out of your hands very quickly, and you can arrive at the end of the month going, where did my money go? What did I even spend it on? So that can lead to a lot of confusion, a lot of stress, and we certainly do not want to be in that place when it comes to our finances. Now, the challenge with most traditional systems of managing your money, most of these typical budgets, is that they're very restrictive, they feel very limiting, and they actually feel more of a burden to your life than something that's going to be empowering. For this reason, I find them very hard to actually maintain, to implement in the long run, and as a result, just end up being a complete waste of time. So in my view, a budget in its true form should make you feel liberated, make you feel empowered. It should not make you feel stressed and restricted. Now, if you are new on this journey of learning how to manage your money and really make your money work for you, then be sure you click the link down in the description below. You can download my free guide, which is all about how to actually start making the most of your money. We're going to specifically look at investing, but we're going to cover a lot of different aspects of your finances. So if you haven't already got access to it, make sure you get it for free now. This leads us nicely into why most budgets don't work. You see, the reason most budgets or most systems of managing your money actually fail is because they're too complicated, they're too time consuming, and as a result, they're just not maintainable for the majority of people in the long term, myself included, quite frankly. Traditional budgeting leads to decision fatigue. You're worrying about every dinner, every coffee, is it in your budget, how much are you spending? It can be quite exhausting. Look, you and I both know that life happens, circumstances change, and traditional budgets just are not flexible enough, in my opinion, to really keep up with that change. Plus, I want my money to work for me, to support me, to be my partner in life so that I can live on my own terms, not be something that is stressing me out because I'm wondering, have I overspent on my coffee budget for the month? That's why, in my experience, most people will inevitably just give up on the budget because it can be just too frustrating and feel a bit useless. So if you're someone who's ever tried to track every expense for 2 weeks and then given up, I'm sure you know what I mean. Now, with all that said, what do you actually do instead? This is where I want to introduce you to the 50-30-20 anti-budget framework. This is a super simple system to manage your money without needing hours of tedious review, complicated tools, or exhausting spreadsheets. It was popularized back in 2005 by US Senator Elizabeth Warren and her daughter Amelia Warren Tynan in their book, All Your Worth. They created it as a way for everyday people like you and I to actually build real financial security without feeling restricted or overwhelmed. It's stuck around for over 20 years because it's simple, it's flexible, and it actually works. And it's especially beneficial in those early stages when you're just beginning to really build a relationship with your money and you need a clear system in place that can help you manage it, but also create enough space for you to actually live your life too. Now, having coached plenty of women from all different corners of the world, I find that the 50-30-20 anti-budget framework works particularly well for those who hate detailed budgeting, who do not want to live their life inside a spreadsheet, but they still want to be confident and sure that they're making the best use of their money, that they're being smart with managing their finances. So even for someone like me who spent over a decade working in corporate finance where Excel spreadsheets were the go-to, when it comes to my personal money, I want something that's easy, quick, flexible, and that's something that I'm actually going to use. If it's too complicated, if it's too much of a burden, it will just sit there gathering dust and be completely redundant. And that is one of the many reasons that I really like this framework and why even in 2025, I still use it as my go-to for myself and managing my money, but also in teaching those who I help manage their money and build wealth as well. I like to look at this framework as budgeting without the burnout. Okay, now that you're convinced that this is a pretty awesome framework, and I can tell because you're still watching, let me explain in a bit more detail how the 50-30-20 framework actually works. First things first, to make sure that we're on the same page, we are looking at your after-tax income, so the money that's actually landed in your account. Now, very simply, 50% or half of your income is going to be allotted towards what we call your needs. Needs are all your bills and monthly expenses that you have to pay, and if you didn't, your life would just get dramatically worse. So these include things like your rent, your mortgage, utilities, insurance payments, groceries, your minimum bank payments. So the things that sustain you in life. Then we have bucket 2, the 30% of your income, which is going to go towards what we call your wants. Now, wants are things that improve or enhance your lifestyle. This may be entertainment, buying new clothes, going for a spa treatment, anything surplus or additional to those essentials that you have covered that really just enhance your way of living. These are all the expenses that you can technically do without because you don't have to go for dinner when you have groceries in the fridge, and unless your kid has gone through a growth spurt, you don't really need to be updating the wardrobe every single month. Then finally, we have our third bucket, which is the 20%. This goes towards being financially savvy and really focusing on building wealth, so taking care of future you. So this can look at building up your savings, like your emergency fund or FU fund. It can be paying down additional debt repayments so you can actually clear your debt faster. And also, as we talk a lot about here on The Witch of Wall Street, investing your money. So money is actually working for you. Money is now your employee. You are not just working for money. Now let's look at a real life example of how you would actually implement this for yourself. So what you're seeing here is a planner that I share with all of my students. You can access this inside the Investing Academy. Again, I'll link that down below in the description. But this forms part of your net worth planner. So this is a whole system that I've created for you. It's a very simple plug and play. And of course, our budget planner, anti-budget planner, is just one of several steps that we take to really empower you to manage your money and feel really in control of your finances. But I want to share this with you so that you can have a real tangible takeaway and you can see how easy it is to implement this. So let's just assume you're someone with a monthly income of $5,000. Now, let's assume that this person has never applied this technique before and is brand new to managing their money. So right now, their essential expenses might be quite high at about $3,500. How much they're spending on their lifestyle upgrades and enhancements might be on a monthly basis about $1,300. And so maybe all they're putting by default into their savings is the remainder of $200. So you can see this person isn't very intentional about building future wealth. It's just whatever's left over at the end of the month can go towards that. Now, the beautiful thing about this system is it can show you very, very simply, how am I doing off this benchmark of the 50-30-20 framework? Now you can see in this example, this individual is spending a lot more on essential expenses. Now, the challenge here is that if this person was to lose their income tomorrow, their essential expenses are quite high. So what they need to have saved and what they need in order to replace that income just to sustain their basic level of living is actually quite high. So we want to bring that under control a lot more. They're also spending quite a lot on their wants, their expenses, but they're not overspending in comparison to the benchmark. But as you can see, when it comes to their savings, their investments, they are massively under providing for their future. Now you can see here again, it's all laid out very simply for you, so it's easy to use. You can see the percentages are provided. So just very quickly, you can see, okay, based on this framework, I'm actually spending a lot more in essentials. I'm doing okay on wants, but my taking care of future me, I need to really invest in more. Now, you don't need to go into the nitty-gritty details of finding out every single expense, but it allows you to categorize where you're spending your money. Now, how I really like to apply this in real life, and this is what I suggest to those that I work with, you'll see this inside the Investing Academy if you come join us, is that when it comes to then actually managing your money, you can set up different current accounts or different checking accounts. So you can have one checking account for your essentials and say, okay, if I'm only wanting to spend, based on this example, 2,500, let me put 2,500 in there and really look at bringing my expenses down to that place. Then when it comes to your wants, you can have a separate current account that just has the amount of money you want to spend every month on your wants. And then lastly, of course, your savings, your investments, you can automate these. You can set it up that a set amount is going into your savings automatically, going into your investments automatically. You're paying yourself first. So it's a really, really simple way to manage your money, stay on track. You don't have to be worrying about every single coffee you spend or if you're going out for dinner. You can simply check your bank account and see very easily how much am I spending. And once the money is gone from your wants account, you know you are done. So from that point of view, it really helps with overspending and managing your money in a way that actually works in the long term. So on this simple chart, all I've done is added in some action steps. So for this individual, it would really be looking at their essential expenses. Okay, am I living in a city that is really, really high in rent? Is that what's taking up the most of the essential expenses? Or is it my debt payments? Are my minimum debt payments so high that that's actually what's eating up into the 70% of my essential expenses? If that was the case, I would be thinking, all right, I really need to bring down my wants and redirect a lot of money towards paying down that debt faster, right? So we'd be paying down that debt faster so we can reduce the amount in our essential expenses. Or maybe you're going to the fanciest grocery store and your grocery expenditure is off the charts. And at the end of every month or end of every week, you're noticing that a lot gets thrown in the garbage. Maybe you're not using what you're buying. So the beautiful thing about this tracker is it allows you to really look at your life in a very logical and a very objective way, without guilt, without shame, but just saying, where am I against this benchmark? And then what are some things I need to do in order to adjust it so that I can live in a more sustainable way? I hope that was helpful just to see a very practical way of applying this system. However, as with everything when it comes to personal finances, it's really key that you personalize it. And this is actually one of the reasons I love this framework. It's very simple to adapt it to your life, because when you're using this as a student in your 20s, it's going to be very different to maybe when you're in your 30s, if you're starting a business, or when you're having a family and you're working with your finances with a partner. Now, some of the criticisms of this framework that I want to address so that you can leave this video feeling very empowered and clear on what to do and not hear someone else 2 minutes later saying this framework is outdated, is that firstly, it's oversimplified. And actually, that's why I love it, is that it keeps it simple and it means that it's easy to use, and so you're going to stick with it. Others argue that it doesn't work efficiently because it doesn't prioritize your savings over your wants. Now again, we personalize this. I work with women who have very clear ambitions for the level of wealth and financial freedom they want to build. And so when we're looking at their anti-budget framework, when we're looking at how they're managing their finances, that 20% that they're putting towards future you, their savings, their investments, is going to increase. So some of them might increase it to 30%, 40%. And they're at a stage in their life where they're happy to, for now, minimize how much money they're spending on their wants. But again, it's a benchmark, and the flexibility it provides you with is so key in order to adapt it to your lifestyle and adapt it to your goals for where you are at this point in life. Now, others might say that 50% on essentials is just totally unrealistic given today's cost of living. And you know what? That may be true if you're living in a big city and you're paying extortionate levels of rent, and even just to buy a carton of milk is very expensive these days. But again, it's a benchmark, and it is going to give you so much clarity and insight. I was recently working with a woman back in Ireland, and she was shocked at how much she was just spending on groceries every single month. Now, this is something that she could easily flex, and it wasn't about going into starvation mode, but she was very honest with herself and said, yes, I'm overspending, I'm bulk buying, there's groceries being thrown out at the end of every week. That is literally just throwing away money. So it actually helped her identify that she was overspending in an area that wasn't really adding anything to her life. Some other things like your rent or your mortgage may be more tricky to manage or to reduce immediately, but it really allows you to be very honest with yourself. Because if you are overspending on rent compared to your income, you have to have that conversation of, Am I being smart with my money? Should I be downsizing to something else momentarily as I either increase my money, look at manifesting more, looking at creating new opportunities to build wealth, setting up some MSIs, multiple sources of income? What do I actually need to do? So yes, it may not be perfect for you, but it will be honest with you. Now, the final argument I often hear is that it doesn't prioritize debt paydown. Again, it just lumps it into savings and investments and puts it all in one bucket, which is only allocating 20% to. So again, this is all about being clear on your goals. So as you've seen when I was talking about the net worth planner that I share inside the Investing Academy, we look at all different aspects of your finances. Cash flow is just one element. But again, what I love about this framework is that it's flexible, it's adaptable, it's easy to use. If you are someone who is sky high in debt, then again, this framework allows you to be very crystal clear on what's actually happening with your money and then putting in place the action steps that are going to move you towards your financial goals and allow you to start that journey towards financial freedom. And the final thing is that it really helps you avoid lifestyle creep, because as your income increases, it means that you're still spreading that income out across different key buckets of your life. And again, it allows you that flexibility to say, you know what, I'm going to keep my essentials at the same level and actually increase the percentage of my future investments, my savings, and allow myself to really fast track my growth. As you've probably come to realize by now, the beauty of this framework is that it allows you to put in place the foundational habits of how do you actually go about managing your money, and then it evolves with you through life. Now, again, if you are someone who wants to completely shift their relationship with money, who wants to feel more in control, more empowered around managing their finances and actually make money go to work for you, then be sure you do check out the Investing Academy. I've linked it in the description down below. It's an incredible program. You can do it in your own time. It works no matter where in the world you are. And it is so powerful in putting you in a place that feels empowered around your money and your future. As you can see, my take on budgets is that they should be empowering, not draining. And that's exactly what this anti-budget framework, the 50-30-20 framework, really provides. Now, once you've finally got your money working for you and not against you, here's your next move. In this next video, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how to save $10,000 fast on a very regular income with real life expenses. It doesn't involve any extreme budgeting, just a smart system that most people unfortunately will never learn. Now, let me know in the comments down below, have you tried budgeting before? What's your take on it? How does this 50-30-20 framework sound for you? And will you give it a shot? Can't wait to hear from you, and I'll see you over in the next video.